A lot of great performances in the week in European football, and it got us thinking about who the best manager in the world is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've done is we've tasked Faysal with coming up with his ranking of the top 10 managers in world football based only on this season. So we're not looking at their historical record, you know, Pep Guardiola's won everything, but how's he actually done this season? So we'll go in reverse order, 10 up to 1. Starting at 10, who's been the 10th best manager in the world this season?
Vincenzo Italiano.
Ooh.
He had a very difficult job if you look at the context behind it, where Thiago Motta just left. Bologna, the best striker, Zerchi left them, Calafiori left them, and they had Champions League football. So it was always going to be a difficult job. And it started a bit slow. He started with only winning one game in the first 8. The first 5 Champions League games, he didn't win a single game. But once he implemented his own style, he went on a run of only losing 3 games in 18 games. One Champions against Dortmund, and now he is 5th place, only 2 points behind Juve. And ironically enough, Thiago Motta got sacked, so he basically stayed more than Thiago Motta, and he's in the Coppa Italia final as well.
Yeah.
His job this season has been so underrated.
Which would be amazing, because they've not won a major trophy since, I think, 1974, Bologna. So obviously, if they do win that, although it's against one of the Milans, so it's going to be tricky.
Nieve?
Defo recommend watching an Italiano side, whether it was Fiorentina or Bologna now. It's very high risk. Players just going forward straight away. Yeah, really exciting.
Okay.
Let's get him up.
Season number 10, once again, just a reminder, this is based on this season. And speaking of this season, wow, what a job he's done.
Absolutely. You can't really not have a Forest player or a manager in these combined list if you were to do one. What he's done this season is impressive. Like, to the players, the roles in Anderson, Sells, Milinkovic, managing to find a system between Morgan Gibbs, Wine Cho, and of course, and Elanga. The most impressive thing for me is, throughout the season, you always felt that Forest would drop down. They would have that little drop-off period. And it happened in end of November, where they lost to Newcastle, City and Arsenal, all back-to-back. And everyone thought the fairy tale would end. Out of nowhere, they win 8 games in a row.
Yeah.
So he's always managed to maintain that consistency, and I wouldn't be surprised if he finished top 4 this season.
Niamh, if we're basing this on the expectation pre-season to now, do you think Nuno, there's an argument that he could be higher than 9th in this list?
Yeah, definitely. The amount of people that thought Forest could potentially get relegated at the start of the season. So, yeah, maybe even higher than that. Unbelievable job.
All right,
and, of course, still in the FA Cup as well, don't forget.
Yes.
Yeah, never know, could get even better. 8.
For me, the most underrated manager, I think...
in the world?
In the world. He's the most underrated manager in the world. I think his reputation took a knock when Liverpool came back against Barcelona, when he was the Barcelona manager, but his second stint with Bilbao has been second to none. He broke the drought last season by winning them the first trophy in 40 years. This season, he's playing one of the most entertaining... I watch La Liga consistently. He's literally playing one of the most entertaining football there is. He's still in the semi-finals of the Europa League. He's 4th as well. And let's not forget, Bilbao are not allowed to sign any players outside of the Basque. So the fact that he's doing it with a limited budget and a limited restriction of players is incredible.
You almost feel with him, he's sort of creating something similar to Simeone at Atletico, where it's his imprint on the club and the identity. He's creating that around the team, which I think is really special.
And again, could get even better. Obviously, played Man United in the semi-finals, very winnable, and the final is in Bilbao.
It's in their stadium,
in San Mamés, and the San Mamés stadium and the environment is crazy.
Yeah.
You guys, United will experience it. It's crazy.
Yeah, we've experienced it in
Will
the past.
Spurs experience it? Will Spurs experience
Yes, you will.
Okay, let's get him up at 8. Number 7.
Next up, and of course, all our wishes from Sky. Hope Eddie Howe gets well soon. Obviously, had an unfortunate couple of weeks, been in hospital, so we wish him a speedy recovery. But he's 7th on the list.
Absolutely.
Because again, another manager's done an amazing job.
This season, I think last season there was a lot of criticism towards him, and I was one of them. But I disregarded the fact that they had so many injuries last season. And now, when everyone's back, look at how Newcastle has played. The full-back pairing, for me, is the best pairing in the Premier League. The fact that how he's managed to make Tonali and Bruno work together, and the freedom he's managed to give Isaac and Gordon on the left-hand side. He, of course, broke the drought, 70 years without a trophy for Newcastle. He's now 3rd. I think they are going to cement themselves as a top 4.
Do you think they could finish 2nd? I saw a few rumours.
They're 6 points behind Arsenal, I believe.
Talking about in the week after their victory,
6 points
behind
Arsenal.
Do you think that could happen?
There's a lot of momentum on their side.
Yeah.
I think what's really exciting about, and it's something you mentioned about, maybe there was a moment where there was questions about what his ceiling was as a manager, but Newcastle, fair play, stuck with him, allowed him to have that time, and now there's a real identity. You know what to expect with Newcastle, and I think because of that, there'll be sustainable success because they'll know exactly who to get in transfer markets. Like, I think there's certain types of players, like Harvey Barnes, Gordon. There's a certain type of player, Hall, Livramento, where you know they'll succeed under Howe. So, yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, I mean, Sven Botman's basically missed the whole season.
Yeah.
And we were talking about him being, you know, their main centre-half coming in a couple of seasons ago. It's like, it's so impressive. The work he's done with Murphy. The work he's done with Murphy. Jacob Murphy's improvement has just been so...
And they are just 4 points behind Arsenal at the minute. And, of course, major trophy. First English manager since Harry Redknapp in 2008 to win a major trophy. That was the FA Cup with Portsmouth.
And the run to the... was
very good point. The teams
so
they've beaten as well. Very good point,
They beat Arsenal, Liverpool.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
number
Antonio
6,
Conte, you've got
Antonio
sixth.
Conte. When you think of league specialists, I think this guy comes to mind straight away.
Yeah.
And this season, let's not forget, Napoli won the league 2 years ago. And last season was a mess with
disaster.
with the whole Osimhen situation, how they handled it. Osimhen leaves this summer. He comes in and he's managed to settle the whole dressing room and the club. Kivicha, the best player, leaves him out of nowhere in January. And still, losing your best player, losing your second best player, he's still only 3 points behind Inter Milan. And what he's done this season to other players, like of Neres and other team in the club, I think he's done an incredible job.
Yeah, 10 league titles, I think he's won as player and manager.
The role he's crafted out for Scott McTominay in that advanced midfield role, attacking the box late.
Bringing Lukaku back.
Let's be even. You watch a lot of Serie A football. What's your thoughts on the role that Conte is and the fact that he's 6 on this list? Where would you have had him?
Yeah, I very much enjoyed what he's done with the midfield. I think the midfield's really excelled under Conte. He wouldn't be in my top 10 though.
Wouldn't he?
Wouldn't be in my top 10. There's other candidates. Maybe I'll come to all some at the end.
Okay,
brilliant.
So
Let's do that then. We'll get once we've seen the 10, we'll get Neve's thoughts on who you think. I'm guessing you think there's a few omissions so far, so we'll get to that in a bit.
Okay.
Mr. Mikel Arteta.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed with what he did against my team a couple of days ago. He literally outclassed us tactically in all departments of the game. I'm impressed with what he's managed to do this season, having your best player out for 4 months. You still managed, and Bukayo Saka, you still did well. Gabriel is out for the whole season. You still managed to do well. You had no strike for the past 2 months in Kai Havertz and Jesus. Ben White's been out. Odegaard's been out, and he still managed to keep himself there in the top 2. And he was competing for the Premier League title until last month. But the game against Madrid told me a lot about him. He told me, one, he might be one of the best tactical managers out there. And secondly, I think he's ready for the next stage. And I've seen, for some reason, over the past 2 months, I've seen Arsenal fans tell him, if you don't win a trophy, you have to go, you have to go. I look at it funnily. I mean, I would be more than happy to replace him with Carlo Ancelotti right this second.
Wow.
Right this second.
As a Real Madrid fan, you'd replace
I'll make the phone call right now.
Ancelotti with Arteta now?
Smithy, don't ask me twice. I would say yes in a heartbeat. He is unbelievable.
And on that, you haven't got Ancelotti in your top 10, have you?
Come on.
So you've been quite vocal about Ancelotti.
Why do you think that's funny? Like, what is it about Ancelotti that you don't like so much?
I think the name Ancelotti rings bells, and I think, of course, his history speaks for itself. But if you actually analyse it, sit down and break it down, I don't think he is that good.
Isn't he the most decorated
This
manager?
season, you mean?
His tenure with Real Madrid over the past 3 years has been overrated.
But he is the most decorated manager in Champions League history, I think I'm right.
Yeah, he's won.
That's a rogue shout by you.
He's won
overrated.
Champions League.
If you think Ancelotti's overrated?
No. His tenure with Real Madrid over the past 3 years has been overrated. Wow. If you actually sit down, we have never been tactically good, and he's relied 3 years ago on Karim Benzema to save him every single week. And last season, thanks to Toni Kroos, the system was all Toni Kroos. This season, you've got the best players in the whole world. Mbappe comes to you, and can you believe we haven't had one good performance this whole season?
You don't think you've had one good performance this season?
Ask any Real Madrid fan. There isn't one good performance. The thing is, people don't watch Real Madrid every single week, but the game against Arsenal told you everything. We weren't good. We got tactically outclassed in Mikel Arteta.
What's your thoughts on what you've heard about Ancelotti?
It's interesting. I do think that some of the Ancelotti football on the pitch is not always the most enjoyable, and so I can understand what you're saying, but I do think that's like outrageous. I do also think that where Ancelotti's skills come into play is dealing with that abundance of talent and being able to sort of take that to the pitch and win the Champions League with it. I do think there's a real skill in that.
That reaches a stage, though. It reaches a limit, and the limit lasted last season. The limit was there last season. It's not enough for you to raise your eyebrows and to hope for Vinicius Junior, Benzema, Cruz to save you. That's a limit to it. This season, we've asked him, can you now save us tactically? Have at least a system in place. Have an idea in place. There's nothing in place.
I think they do have a system in place.
There is no system around
Wow,
it.
big shouts that.
The only system is
four.
him raising his eyebrows.
Wow.
Then number 4 is Arne Slot.
Arne Slot.
I would have.
Is this low? Yeah.
I would have had him a bit higher if he had done better in the Champions League and in the.
So a lot of your top 3 is Champions League based.
Domestic cups, and I think this season he deserves a lot of credit. I mean, I might have one of the worst opinions of start of the season when I said he could get sacked in December, and look what happened. He won the Premier League.
That way is that low. Niamh, do you think that's low for Slot?
I don't know. I think I can sort of predict who the 3 are going to come after it, and they are a very high level of manager. So I don't necessarily think it's a reflection of Slot. I think the gap between the 4, it could sort of be any of who you're about.
Got to say, to win the Premier League in your first season coming into the new
and
league,
it's so hard,
incredible.
as we've seen
with the point swing as well.
Emery, we've seen with Moyes taking over from a legacy manager who is one of the greatest in your club's history. That has so much control, so much power, so much personality, like Jurgen Klopp does, to come in and make that feel seamless, feel very smooth, make the players very comfortable, I think is an extremely underrated skill before we even get into his tactics.
And then also keeping the fact that Van Dijk signed, Salah signed, all that. A lot of people last summer wouldn't have predicted that might have happened, that Liverpool would have won the league. I think he deserves a huge amount of credit on and off the pitch.
And the play improvements in the likes of Konate, Gravenberch, the role that he's giving Gravenberch.
Stick him up then. Let's get into your top 3.
These are my top 3 managers in the world. And this guy, Mr. Simone Inzaghi, for me has been the top 3 in the last 3 years. For me, I love him. I love everything about him. I love his system. I love how, for me, he's the most tactical, flexible manager out there. I think he can work in all different avenues of the game. And first of all, the player improvement speaks for itself, the likes of Bastoni, Barella and everyone else. Secondly, how he's managed to turn other players into different roles, like Hakan. Hakan was a 6, so it was a 10. He's turned him into one of the best 6s in the world. His 2 striker formation always works well together, whether that is Lautaro and Lukaku or Lautaro and Thuram. He is so good. He is so good.
Niamh?
Yeah, do you know, I honestly think you could even put him forward as candidate for number 1. I really do, because he's working with a whole different environment to everyone else. I mean, you think about the other guys that are going to come up, they're playing this unbelievable football and they've got recognised superstars, especially attacking-wise, on their team. Whereas I feel like with Inzaghi, he's about being creative and turning players into that. He's not got access to the funds to be able to bring that in and have that. But also what I really like about Inzaghi is you get this really exciting sort of the through balls when they're getting up the pitch really quickly. You've got all this excitement. You've got this great system where they know what space they need to be in, and therefore anyone can kind of, you know what I mean? Like as long as you're a certain standard of player, anyone can fit in and do that. But then they're so solid as well.
Like the players he can bring in out of nowhere, like the likes of Pavard, who was a reject at Bayern Munich, came and did well. Darmian, who, I mean, look at...
it's so interesting, isn't it? I mean, he's on for a treble still this season, as I think so let's stick him up, because I think your top 2, we may as well do it once, because otherwise it'll be an obvious reveal. So do your top 2, because these guys are both on for trebles as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Both in the Champions League, as you say.
Number 2, I've got Luis Enrique. And Luis Enrique has surprised me a lot this season. I've never been a fan of Luis Enrique. I felt like he underperformed at Barcelona, despite winning a treble there. I think he could have done way more with Barcelona with that Emerson trio. With Spain, I don't think he was convincing. Last season with PSG, with Mbappe, his first season wasn't convincing. But this season, I'm lost for words.
You have a high bar for managers, don't you? Ancelotti, you think slightly overrated.
I do.
Underperforming Barcelona winning the treble. It's like...
But I think I'm lost for word what he's done this season, especially with no Mbappe. He's managed to build a team, and I think that's the key word, the team without Mbappe.
But you'd have Hansi, based on this season, Hansi Flick as your number 1.
I watch Barca week in and week out, and what Hansi Flick has done to this Barcelona team has been incredible. I mean, forget just the collective, the high line, the system he's managed to build, but the player improvements. Konate, Balde, his biggest improvement, which I think no one takes credit for, is what he's done to Pedri. Pedri was always seen as a 10. And with Spain, he plays as a 10. This season, what he's done, he said to Pedri, I want you a bit deeper. I think Barcelona's over the reason Barcelona hasn't won the Champions League in the past decade is because they've never found a replacement for Xavi and Busquets. He is now their Xavi and Busquets. And the way he plays in that deeper role, it's down to him.
Stick them down. It's as I say, it's your 10, so that is confirmation of your 10.
Just quickly, is there anyone you definitely would have had in there that is not included? And is there anyone you definitely would move?
So I would probably I'd put Gasperini in there over Italiano. I think Gasperini, when you mentioned sort of about Ernesto Valverde, I think Gasperini is the most underrated manager in Europe and has been for some time. They are on set to get their 6th Champions League season in 9 years that Gasperini's been there, but also in that time period, they've gained 400 million euros in capital gains. It's just pure profit because they just lose their best players every single season. It's relentless. Koopmeiners being the latest one in the summer that we've just had. And I think a lot of Italian managers take great inspiration from Gasperini.
The only thing about Gasperini, I would have had Gasperini if it wasn't just based on this season. Him being knocked out in the Champions League, for me, in the early on, and losing against Club Bruges, for me, took him a little bit down.
To be fair, though, they got knocked out pretty quickly. They fell foul in the...
But his circumstances is different to Gasperini.
I don't think it is. I think Gasperini's created the standard that we expect from him. Yeah, and I think the team is, because it's always picked at, I almost feel like he's not in this advantaged position that we think he is. He's just put himself in that as a manager.
Okay. I love that list.
Yeah.
Oh, Will Henriksen as well. Yeah. Mainz. Absolutely unbelievable. Like, they're fast, direct, suffocating football, and took them out of the relegation fight, and now they are going to get Champions League.
Nice. Shout out Unai Emery as well, I think, the season that he's had. Some good managers there. But that is Faysal. Let us know what you think of that. Very much enjoyed that, mate. Very much.